Welcome to Channel 16. This is Superintendent Spotlight. My name is Ken Weir. North Penn School Superintendent Thomas Persing and Director of Finance Dennis Kelly will be with us for this half hour. We want to talk with you today about the recommendation for an earned income tax, that the board consider an earned income tax. We want to talk with you also today about some of the serious financial considerations that are facing the school district. I think we should begin by asking Dr. Persing to talk with us a little bit about his recommendation for the earned income tax. Tom, it seems to me you were only here a few weeks in your interim assignment as our superintendent when you began to discuss the possibility that the district needed to look at alternate sources of revenue. I'm sure that there were many considerations that brought that together for you. Could you talk with us today about the different things you learned about the school district and its finances that caused you to come to this realization?
Yes, Ken. Although curriculum and instruction is my first love, I realized that in order for that to occur, one has got to have a sound financial base. As soon as I started to look at the expenditures and the incomes, I realized very quickly that the bulk, if not the enormous amount of money that we get from for our expenditures, that is our income, comes really from the property tax. Mr. Kelly was quick to point out to me what our financial records are, and I was astounded and amazed to learn that this school district, which I had come to think of as a very wealthy school district, was in a position that the property tax could no longer be utilized as a source of income, as the primary source of income. I then took a look at what alternatives were, and it came to me, and as if you look at the chart, that we probably are the only school district surrounded by all the others that does not have an earned income tax. In white, we are at North Penn. And if you see in Bucks County and Montgomery County, all the other school districts surrounding us do, in fact, practically all of them have the earned income tax.
I guess the exception is Wissahickon at the moment, isn't it?
That's correct, it is. And you can see also in orange there that 2 of our 7 municipalities also anticipate the fact that we are going to, that they have the earned income tax, and we have Hatfield Township, who has already notified us that effective the 1st of January 1996, they will enact an earned income tax. I think people should understand that it's the Board of School Directors who have the authority and the power to enact this tax. The superintendent can only supply the leadership, hopefully the persuasion, and has an obligation to bring forth to the school district, to the Board of School Directors, what are the ways and means by which these particular incomes can be realized. I hasten to say to you that it's important that we don't want to use property tax as the only type of revenue. I believe personally that it's a regressive tax, that it hits the poorest and the oldest, and I really believe that earned income tax is one of the more fairer way of financing a school district. I also believe that because we have the poorest and the oldest who have lower incomes, I believe that the board should also consider a $5,000 exemption for those people, so that we would only look at people earning beyond $5,000. That, again, is the obligation and the power and the authority of the Board of School Directors. I merely can make those recommendations.
Since you've begun talking with us and with the community about the earned income tax, we've heard some voices of criticism that suggest that perhaps when you arrived you found mismanagement, and you found that there had been prior mismanagement and therefore the need for an additional tax. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, I do, Ken. I found no mismanagement. I find that the people were trying to be as frugal as they can. I think the evidence that North Penn, where they rank in pupil expenditure, can in fact talk to this far better than I can. I do think that we must get on a 3-year plan, 3 to 5 years, a fiscal plan, so that we don't face these things in 1 year. It is true that we have taken some money and for capital expenditures out of the bond fund. That's perfectly legal. It's the way to go at that particular time. It was a decision that was made. Right now, I would recommend that if we're going to purchase any equipment in the future, we should be purchasing that from our incoming revenues. In addition, I'd like to say very quickly that nothing that has happened in this school district in the past should be a reflection of the future. It just means that we are going to come into a situation that is different fiscally than it has been for the last several years at North Penn, and we have to find new ways to solve old problems. And that's the purpose of why I would propose the earned income tax.
Is our unique financial situation at the moment directly related to the growth of the community and the growth in the obligation to each year have an enrollment of increase of perhaps 300, 400 additional students? Is that an important part of this?
Yes, it is, Ken, because as you know, if we take in a home that gives us $3,000 in income from taxes, but we bring in 2 students at $7,500, that's $15,000 to educate 2 children with only $3,000. Our biggest base for taxes we must consider happens to be the real estate and the commercial. And so unfortunately, it's the real estate base of commercial and real estate that have had, or the business rather, that have had their particular taxes or tax assessments reduced. We have lost approximately $4.2 million in cash revenues in this school district within the last 2 years. We'll be paying out next year $1.8 million in paybacks to property owners, predominantly business and commercial, that we now owe because of the court settlement. So we need a new base, and we've got to attack that problem now.
I think our listeners will want to understand that these paybacks are the result of assessment appeals, and that these assessment appeals have been, in some cases, being considered for many years. I'd like to ask Dennis Kelly, do we have assessment appeals from major property owners that stretch over a number of years?
Yes, Ken, some of those appeals stretch all the way back to 1982. They've been some of our major appeals. One company alone was $750,000, and that went back to 1982.
How are these numbers determined, and how is it determined that a payback is scheduled over a period of time? What is the process for that?
The process is they take it to the Montgomery County Board of Assessment, and they do a hearing, and what they've done is each side, both our side and their side, will present an appraisal of what the property is worth. It's then up to the Board of Assessment to decide where that falls, and usually it falls somewhere in the middle. What they do then is look at what it's been assessed at, see what the new assessment is, and the difference is what they are refunded over a number of years.
Now, to repeat, Dr. Persing said that if we take the payback and the additional appeals for this year, the total could be as much as
$4.1 million.
$4.1 million that will not be available and will have to be found in another way, so to speak.
That's correct.
So to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Dennis, I should ask you to talk with us a little bit about the process for establishing an earned income tax. Now, we've already said that North Wales Borough and Hatfield Borough have such a tax.
That's correct.
And that we have been informed, given official notice, that Hatfield Township intends to enact a tax. If the school district were to enact an earned income tax for the next fiscal year or part of the next fiscal year, what are our options? We can enact a 1% or a 0.5%. Is that correct?
That's correct. According to state code, that is the Board of Directors' option to go with a full 1% or a 0.5%.
Now, I'm sure the residents of North Wales Borough and Hatfield Borough, and then also the residents of Hatfield Township, are wondering, can we enact a 0.5% on top of the 1% they already have?
No, the 1% would just affect those townships or municipalities who don't currently have one. Say, for example, North Wales, they already have a 1% earned income tax in their borough. When we enact a 1%, that would, in effect, cut theirs in half, that we would each share in that 1%.
And this is the maximum. I know people worry about the possibility that this will be 2% in the future and 3% in the future. How is this controlled? There is a cap on it. It's only 1%, and that's controlled how?
That's correct. It's controlled by state law. The law itself would have to be changed in order
State legislature.
Exactly, in order to increase it over the 1% that it currently stands.
This tax has been considered before in the North Penn School District, and there's been much discussion before. Of course, we had different financial circumstances then. We had different reality then, if you will. How does our situation, and this may be repeating something that Dr. Persing has already explained, but for emphasis, how is our situation different this year rather than the years where it was considered and wasn't adopted?
Well, I think what's happened this year, while we have an ongoing loss of $2.6 million in actual cash loss due to assessment appeals, a number of them are all being settled. It seems that they're all being settled at one time. Whether this, a number of lawyers may think that the economy is at its lowest, and so they've all chosen to settle at this point. As Dr. Persing explained earlier, during this current fiscal year, the 94-95 year, we will be refunding $1.5 million for those appeals, and next year an additional 1.8. I think that has added to the severity of our financial situation, even in addition to the money we'd already lost.
I think we should emphasize for our viewers that if we do enact, if the school board does enact an earned income tax, this is for residents only. The school district can enact for residents only.
That's correct.
Not for those who come to the school district to work.
Correct. That would just be on the residents. The municipalities, however, they have the option, depending on if they want to enact this tax, of setting it up to also affect those people who work in the various townships.
Which is additional income for the municipalities, which is, I'm repeating, but it's not available to the school district.
We cannot
it's not available to the school district. What would you estimate the yield to be the first year if we were to levy, if the school board were to levy a 1% income tax? What kind of yield would we be looking at?
Well, we commissioned a firm called Berkheimer Associates. They're a local tax collecting firm. They do this for a number of municipalities. We commissioned them to go out and give us an estimate. What they did is go out and as you can see, it ranges from a low of $65,000 from North Wales up to a high of almost $2 million from the township of Towamencin. What they've estimated is that we could receive on a full 1% for next year almost $8 million. While the borough of North Wales looks a little low, that's because they currently have the 1% and we would just be taking a 0.5% from them. The borough of Hatfield, however, while they have the tax, their tax was enacted at 0.5%.
If the school board were to adopt this 1% for the next fiscal year, and if that were to yield an estimated or a planned for $8 million, how does that equate to millage? What would be the number of mills that would represent?
It would represent almost 33 mills.
Nearly 33 mills for $8 million.
Correct.
Are we anticipating that there's a possibility of a millage decrease if the earned income tax were, or is that a premature question? Is that a question that I shouldn't be asking
While a little
today?
premature, that's one thing that we would like to do. I mean, Dr. Persing is reviewing the budget very intently to see areas that can be cut with the hopes of having a millage decrease for 95-96.
It's my understanding that many people who work in other communities but live in the North Penn School District are already paying an earned income tax in those surrounding districts or in those other districts where they work.
Yes, Ken, that's
I think
correct.
you have information to share with us about that.
Yes, we do. Also, we had asked Berkheimer, because of that situation, if they could give us a good estimate of the kind of income that we were already losing from our residents who were paying out to other townships. What they did for us is, in those municipalities where they currently collect, they did a study and they found out that 4,482 of our residents are currently paying almost $2 million to other townships. They broke it down for us from the number from Lansdale Borough, the high of almost 2,000 people, down to a low of 248 people of Upper Gwinnett Township. We have to remember, though, that this is just for those municipalities that they're currently collecting for. They don't collect for Norristown or Upper Merion or any of those other big commercial centers where I would feel a number of people from our school district would be working.
It's my understanding, for instance, that Upper Merion does not have this tax.
That's correct.
So there would be an opportunity to see that many people who are working there are not paying the tax.
That's correct.
These, I suspect, are modest numbers based upon the number of municipalities where Berkheimer is a collector.
That's correct. I mean,
So
they had said that from the beginning, that they estimate that maybe only 10% of our people even work in the city of Philadelphia. I think the general feeling is that there's a number more who work in Philadelphia also.
Let's talk about the Philadelphia situation. It's my understanding that people who work in Philadelphia are already paying a tax. How does that relate to any action that we might take?
Those currently working in Philadelphia, according to the Sterling Act, will not have to pay any their income tax to us. That money stays with Philadelphia. That was also done with an act of the legislature that in order to save Philadelphia's revenue base.
And what about the difference between theirs and ours?
They're currently paying as a non-resident 4.3125. So they're paying significantly higher than our 1% would be.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Let's look at the subject of other school districts and the kind of income they've experienced over the years when they have an earned income tax. Would you explain this graphic for us, please?
Right. Berkheimer Associates also did for us a study. We wanted to be able to inform the taxpayers of what we could expect in growth. They went in those districts where they also collect, it goes from a low of 4.7 to a high of 7.8% increase per year over the last 3 years. I think this would provide us with a good financial base in order to do projections for the future.
So the $8 million that we might expect to receive during the first year will obviously have a growth factor for future budgets and for financial planning.
That's correct.
Dr. Persing, I think we should take a look at our financial situation as it compares to other school districts. Would you like to talk with us a little bit about the comparisons that you're acquainted with for Bucks and Montgomery County?
Yes, Ken, I think that you will find that we are one of the few districts in Bucks and Montgomery County that do not have the earned income tax. If Mr. Kelly would be kind enough to point, we could see that as we look at these comparisons, as we come across the wage and income tax in this column there, as you can see that those that have them and those that do not, and approximately 50%, 60% do have them, and 40% do not. So it is a well-known, documented fact that the earned income tax is something that has been used probably for as long as it has been enacted as a means of income for school districts. The thing about it is it places some of the burden on those who are wage earners, and those people with fixed incomes or have reduced incomes. Those people are not affected because, as Mr. Kelly will show you, that the earned income tax really only attacks, in fact, earned income. And he'll talk with you about the fact that there are certain types of income that are not affected by this tax, such as Social Security, etc.
And I think it's important to point out also that, in addition, when you look at some of the millage rates for the various and some of our surrounding school districts, that there are many districts with much higher millage than we have that currently also have this earned income tax. I think that's important for the public to realize.
As we talk about this subject, lots of people are thinking about the reassessment program that's being conducted by Montgomery County, a county-wide reassessment. From your best information, when would any reassessment begin to have an effect and an impact on the school district's finances?
Our best guess right now is that during the 97-98 school year that's when the reassessment will take effect. Up until that point, when we look back in history, the last time there was a reassessment was back in 1978. At that time, it was 3 years before there was another tax increase, another millage increase here.
3 years with no millage increase.
That's correct.
Following a county-wide reassessment.
Yes. So we just have to wait and see what the new figures come out to be.
I think we should shift back to Dr. Persing and talk a little bit about the fact that our real estate tax is not bringing us, as far as our projections are concerned, is not bringing us a significant increase in yield for the next budget year. Do you have comments on that, Tom?
Yes, I do. If you would look out, as Mr. Kelly's pointing to, you can see that our current real estate taxes in 92-93 happen to be $60 million. In 93-94, $63 million. In the budget year for 94-95 is $69 million. But if you look ahead, 95-96 sees virtually no growth. No growth with the millage that we're looking for, unless, of course, we were to add a millage, a tax millage onto that. So we're very concerned that we don't see the quantity and quality of properties coming online that would provide a property tax increase for us, and that's one of the reasons we're looking for that. And I'd like to go back to that other chart, not literally go back, but just simply talk about it. And that is the chart of all the money that this school district is losing by virtue of not having the earned income tax. By that we mean people are actually paying that tax, but they're paying it to other municipalities or other school districts, and this particular school district is not realizing that. And I think 1.8 million is a very conservative estimate. I would think that it would be closer to $3 million. That means that we are losing $3 million that we have to place on property owners, the millage on property owners, to make up that $3 million. That, in our best estimate, would amount to about 10 or 12 mills. And that's a lot of millage that we're paying just simply because we do not have the earned income tax.
People driving through the community and seeing all the new houses, whether it be in Toa-Menson or one of the other municipalities, but I guess especially in Montgomery Township, would say, how is it that all these new houses and all these new properties paying a tax for their real estate do not help to solve and help to address this problem? You explained earlier that all of those houses together, all of those new residential properties, cannot begin to offset these kinds of costs. There's just no way that income, that new income can meet this need.
As I explained earlier, the one assessment appeal alone was almost $750,000. You would need quite a few $3,000 tax homes to make up just that $750,000 alone. I mean, you take a situation as the Montgomery Mall. Their entire assessment decreased $1.2 million. It really takes a big development over Montgomery Township to make up for that loss.
When I visited the sample homes at Montgomery Crossing the other day, I overheard the salesperson explaining to a couple that the projected tax for the property would be $4,200. I made the assumption that was school tax and township tax, the total tax.
Yes, that would be correct. That would be all
township,
three.
and school district. Total tax of $4,000 to $4,200. I think we can see how many new homes it takes and how many new residential occupants it takes, if you will, to meet the kind of cash flow that you're talking about. Dr. Persing, are there any other comments you want to make about this graphic, or should we move on to the next one?
Let's move on with the addition of one comment, and that is that reaffirming that although we may get properties coming on the line that in fact people move into, they generally come to this school district with children. And one child is $7,500 for us to educate. And if they bring in $3,000, that means we're actually losing money when we have children in those homes, if one wants to look at it that way.
If they only have one child in school. Yes, indeed. So it takes a lot of folks who don't have children and a lot of commercial properties to balance that out. I guess that's the basic civics lesson that we all have to remind ourselves of as we look at this. I think, Dennis, if you would speak to us about the last graphic that we want to display here today. This is a summary of revenue from real estate taxes. What do we want to point to in this graphic?
Well, I think what we want to understand is over the last 8 to 10 years, the assessment growth here in North Penn has been close to somewhere between 4% and 6%. During this current year, we're only experiencing a 0.1% as of March 1st over the prior year. I think this shows it in detail where, with the exception of Montgomery Township going from the 80 million up to 82 million in their assessments, everyone else is remaining pretty well stagnant or with a loss. I mean, you take a Hatfield Township that was at a high of 52.7 million in 93-94. They're currently down to 50,000,006. When you also, and you look at an Upper Gwinnett, they've only grown from 57.8 up to 58.9. I think this points out exactly where we are with our revenue. With the assessment appeals, our rate of growth is pretty stagnant at the moment, and as you can see, where our millage a value of 1 mil had grown from 263 up to 278. This past year, with the 0.1% growth, we're only at 279. This is really the basis for the financial problem we're experiencing right now.
I'd like to remind our viewers that we would be happy to supply them with copies of this information. Copies may be obtained by stopping at the Educational Service Center and requesting a copy in the Office of School Community Relations. If it's impossible to do that, a telephone call would enable us to send you a copy of these sheets. This information and related information that was not displayed here today is available to all those who would request it, and we will be happy to make that available to you. Dr. Persing, I think I'd like to ask you, what are the chances that the board might move and adopt an earned income tax?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I wish I had the answer to that, but based on what I know, I feel that this board must face its fiscal responsibilities and must seek a way to get away from the regressive property tax, which hits the poorest and the oldest, and put some of the burden on those who are earning an income. So I would say the chances are favorable.
And Dennis Kelly, what do you say to those who might say that this responsibility for an earned income tax is shared by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us, and that we're the ones who make the recommendation to the board? How do you respond to that?
Well, I think it's really shared by the entire community, and I think the important thing about this tax is, as was stated earlier, that it is basically on earned income. It doesn't include interest income, dividend income. It's basically on earned income, so that people with Social Security, disability income, they have no fear of losing any additional monies. This is really just for the people who are out there earning money at the moment.
We hope that our viewers will remain interested in this topic. This is a difficult exercise for the school district and an extremely difficult exercise for the Board of School Directors. It will be decided in the coming weeks, and we hope that you will stay tuned and we will keep you informed. Thank you for viewing today. On behalf of Thomas Persing and Dennis Kelly, I am Ken Weir, speaking for the North Penn Schools. Thank you.
Concentrate on the crap game. Let's go up to here with I played it.
I know I can make a fortune, but where can I have the game?
You can have the game at the North Penn High School auditorium.
May 4th, 5th, and 6th.
With a curtain time of 7:30. And tickets are still available in the main office by calling 368-9800. Guys and dolls, be there.
You're watching North Penn Television on Channel 16.